Advisory Committee meeting to order. Agenda item number 2 this evening is the land acknowledgement. We'd like to start by acknowledging that the land on which we live and work is the traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe and many other nations whose presence here continues to this day. As a municipality, Aurora has shared responsibility for the stewardship of this land. We further acknowledge that Aurora is part of the treaty lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, recognized through Treaty Number 13, as well as the William Treaties of 1923. Shared understanding of how the rich cultural heritage that has existed for centuries and of how our collective past brought us to where we are today will help us walk together into a better future. Agenda item number 3, approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda as circulated by Legislative Services? Let's see, I will take moved by Robert, and I will take Bob. Can I take you as that second? Thank you very much. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Okay, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. And item number 4 this evening, declarations of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest this evening? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much. Agenda item number 5, receipt of the minutes. May I please have a motion to receive the meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2022? So moved by John Green, seconded by Robert Lowndes. Thank you, Robert. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Okay, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Agenda item number 6, delegations. We have no delegations this evening. Moving on to agenda item number 7, matters for consideration. Agenda item 7.1, memorandum from planner, Heritage Planning, Heritage Permit Application File HPA-2022-06, 20 Catherine Avenue. Committee members, please note that the agent, David Duran, and the property owners, Ian and Patricia Emsley, are also in attendance to answer any questions from the committee. I have a mover and seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion. Let's see, they moved by Matt, seconded by John. Thank you, John. Item 7.1, that the memorandum regarding Heritage Permit Application File HPA-2022-06, 20 Catherine Avenue be received, and that the Heritage Advisory Committee comments regarding Heritage Permit Application File HPA-2022-06 be received and referred to staff for consideration and further action as appropriate. Staff like to speak to the item this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item relates to Heritage Permit Application HPA 2022-06, and it's to replace the existing 1.5-story rear addition with a new 2-story rear addition to the existing dwelling at 20 Catherine Avenue. The subject property is designated Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act, as it is located within the Northeast Old Aurora Heritage Conservation District. The addition is located directly behind the house, and it's not visible from the street. Therefore, it will not adversely impact streetscape. This heritage permit also contemplates a tree removal application for the Manitoba maple tree to facilitate the proposed addition. However, the storm from a couple of weeks ago snapped off a significant portion of the canopy, and only a portion of the trunk remains, which now requires cleanup. Staff have reviewed the application based on the guidelines of the Heritage District Plan and are satisfied that the overall design and location of the rear addition will not adversely impact the heritage value of the property. And as such, staff would like to obtain comments from the committee before bringing a final recommendation to council.
Thank you, Prashanti. Does the committee have any questions or comments for the applicant, staff, or homeowners in attendance this evening? Go ahead, John.
Are there any drawings available of the addition?
John, I will direct that question to Prashanti. I believe there were drawings in the package that was circulated, unless I'm mistaken.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The drawings are as attached as attachments. If the committee would like, I could share my screen to show the elevations, if that's easier. But they are on page, the site plan starts on page 12 of 28, and then the elevations are on page 13 of 28.
I think were there 30 pages in all or something? It was long.
Oh.
Do any other committee members have any questions or comments this evening as we give John a few minutes? Seeing a no from Bob. Robert. No questions or concerns from myself. John, I'm going to put you on the clock. I'm going to give you another 15 seconds.
Okay.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Robert.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just more of a point than any objections or anything like that. The fact that the rear addition, it's not visible from the street. It's entirely behind the existing dwelling. The proposed addition is compatible with the original architectural character of the building, and that the materials proposed to be used seem to be consistent with the Heritage District Plan. So from what I saw, John, just to put things into perspective,
Yes.
it looked fantastic, to be honest with you, from a renovation standpoint. So
it looks like it's been there for 100 years, right?
okay.
Okay.
Not quite. Materials are pretty close though.
Sure. Okay.
Okay. Well, if there are no further comments on this matter, I'll call a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Okay. Moving ahead to item 7.2, memorandum for manager of parks and fleet tree removal application 72 Harrison Avenue. May I have a mover and seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion?
So moved.
And I'll see moved by Robert, or let's go moved by Robert and seconded by Bob. Thank you. Item 7.2, that the memorandum regarding tree removal application 72 Harrison Avenue be received, and that the Heritage Advisory Committee comments regarding tree removal application 72 Harrison Avenue be received and referred to staff for consideration and further action as appropriate. Would staff like to speak to the item this evening?
So this report is regarding a white spruce tree in the rear yard of 72 Harrison. Parks received a tree removal permit application in April, and we've met with the owner, assessed the tree, and found that it is on a 20% lean towards the house. It's about 44 centimeters and of DBH. The root plate hasn't shifted from what we can see, or at least currently. It may have been planted on a lean, may have shifted early on in its life. But as the tree gets larger, the resident is concerned about the weight. It's not in the greatest of health. It's quite sparse in its canopy. It's kind of central to the yard, and the homeowner would like to utilize the space of the yard a little bit better and plant some additional trees as a buffer along the property line. So a couple native maples is what they were thinking, to provide compensation for the removal of the tree should it be approved. So that's essentially the content of the report and the request.
Thank you very much. Does the committee have any questions or comments for staff this evening? Go ahead, John.
Yes, regarding leaning trees, when that tremendous almost tornado went through the other day, and I drove around Catherine and Spruce and whatnot, there were trees down all over the place. And such a tree that we're talking about, if it's not too big right now, but it seems to be a candidate. If one of those big windstorm comes up again, it might be a good idea to remove it and replace it with something different. That's just my comment.
Thank you, John. I'm happy to hear, and I'm pleased to hear that staff has worked with the homeowner to identify additional trees that will be planted with the removal of this trees. Sarah, is there? I mean, there's a commitment from the homeowner. Is there any follow-up that staff does to ensure that that's done, or is that just a verbal commitment at this point in time for replanting?
No, it's part of the tree removal permit application, so they need to provide us with the compensation. And then there's follow-up to see whether they've actually planted the trees. Once they do plant the trees, then that compensation is released back to them. So essentially, we hold the compensation till they plant the trees, and then if they plant the trees, then they get it back. If they don't plant it, then the town retains the monies that are held, and we use it for planting in additional areas.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that context. Any other questions or comments for staff this evening? Okay, I'm not seeing any, so I'll call a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Moving ahead to agenda item number 8, informational items. 8.1, memorandum from planner, Heritage Planning report on 2022 minor heritage permit approvals. May I have a mover and seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion? See, moved by Matt and seconded by Robert. Thank you very much. Item 8.1, that the memorandum regarding report on 2022 minor heritage permit approvals be received for information. Would staff like to speak to the item this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As this is our last meeting for the term, we're seeing this item earlier than we usually would. The purpose of this item is to inform the committee about minor heritage permit approvals that have been processed by the Planning Division since January 2022. Since January of this year, Planning and Development Services consented to 4 minor heritage permits in accordance with bylaw 5365-11. And the minor heritage permits are summarized in the memo that has been circulated previously to the committee. Staff was satisfied with each of the proposals, massing, design, and building materials, and that the proposals were in keeping with the general intent of the Northeast Old Aurora Heritage Conservation District Plan. We will be updating the Heritage Advisory Committee on an annual basis, advising the number of minor heritage permit approvals that were granted where the approval authority is not council.
Thank you. Does the committee have any questions or comments for staff this evening? Go ahead, Bob. Oh, Bob, the last meeting that we're having together, and you've done it. You're on mute.
I even clicked it. I think I clicked it off instead of on. My goodness.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Brashante. Page 26 of 30 in the agenda, just where there's the chart listing these items, 74 center, front half portion of the building to be shifted 4.63 meters from the east property line. Are we talking about, we're talking about the whole house?
Through the chair, not the entire house, just the front half portion of the house has been shifted to the west to allow for the retention of the spruce tree that's straddling along the east property line. Originally, the owners did not have any intention of removing any trees. However, when the application did proceed to the committee of adjustment level, whereby we required the submission of an arborist report, The arborist that evaluated the inventory of all the existing trees stated that the proposed the development of the construction of the house will have impacts to that spruce tree, and that to eliminate those concerns, that the building should be shifted to the west so that that tree could be preserved. And instead of shifting the entire house to the west, the owners revised the proposal so that just the front half portion of the house was shifted to the west so that the spruce tree could be preserved.
Okay, thank you. So is the house rectangular, or is it got a zigzag in it now?
It's through you, Mr. Chair. It's similar to an L shape,
Okay,
but the footprint is remains generally the same. And there's from the streetscape, there's staff were of the opinion that there would be the same, or I mean minimal, and the same impacts as the footprint kind of being in the same rectangular configuration versus the tree, or versus the front half of the dwelling being shifted a bit to the west.
okay, thank you very much. And Mr. Chair, through you to Prashante, since she did mention this being our last meeting, traditionally staff brings some treats for us. I hope that she's brought some virtual cookies with her this evening. Or not. Thanks.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. What's going on?
Prashant, I can extend the meeting right till 9 o'clock, and you can do a quick round to tell you where Bob lives, and you can drop some Tim Hortons or something on for him. I don't know what he needs.
And drive to each of our houses.
Just
Yeah.
virtually, just virtually.
All right. Does the committee have any other questions or comments on that matter? If not, I'll call a vote. Not seen any. Okay, all in favor?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I didn't catch the
Yes.
seconder. I know Matt moved it, and I didn't catch the seconder.
I think it was Robert Lowndes.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, so I think we were all in favor. Any opposed? None opposed, and that carries. Item 8.2 this evening, memorandum from Planner Heritage Planning Re-Heritage Advisory Committee update list. May I have a mover and seconder to put the item on the floor for discussion? Okay, moved by John, seconded by Bob. Thank you both. Item 8.2, that the memorandum regarding Heritage Advisory Committee update list be received for information. Would staff like to speak to the item this evening?
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Chair. The purpose of this item is to provide an update to items which were brought to the Heritage Advisory Committee at the February 7th, April 4th, and the May 2nd, 2022 meetings. This list serves as a means to update the committee on items that were discussed at the previous HAC meetings, and will be updated and provided at regularly scheduled meetings. Anything that's approved by council is deemed complete and will be removed at the subsequent update list. Thanks.
Thank you, Prashanthi. Prashanthi, I would like to thank you for doing that. I find that quite helpful, that list. It provides a bit of context to some of the decisions that are made after they've gone through this committee. Do any other committee members have any questions or comments for staff on this item? Okay, I'm seeing none. If there are no further comments, I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? And that carries. Moving on to adjournment. Wow, this has been a very quick meeting for our final meeting. I will put agenda item number 9 as a motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting this evening? Matt Kinsella, thank you, Matt. Seconded by Robert Lowndes. I'll take Robert as the second. All in favor?
May I just say one thing before we go? I just wanted to thank you very much, Jeff, as chair. You were incredible chair for our hack team, and thank you to all of you. You were the best ever. Amazing group, and I'm gonna miss you. And I just thank you so much for everything you've done. Put your heart and soul in this, and you know what? It shows. Our heritage areas are beautiful, and thank you very, very much. And thank you to staff for all your hard work for us as well.
Well, it was an absolute pleasure working with this group, and perhaps I look forward to seeing you again soon.
I hope so.
Thanks,
And
Jeff.
I will
Thank you.
officially, because I don't want an email from Linda or her jumping in on my last evening here. I will make sure that we have a all in favor of adjourning the meeting.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? And that
Thanks,
carries. We are
Prashant.
officially done. Thank you, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thanks, Prashant.
Have a
Thanks, Linda.
summer.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.